today. My name is Jim Steele. I'm president of the Maryland Million, chairman of the Horse Industry Board, on the Breeders' Board, so that's why I got picked to be up here. We're really excited to be here. We're really excited about the move from our present location from the horse breeders here at Goucher College. We're really excited about this economic survey that's been done. And it's taken a lot of people to do it, because this is not just the thoroughbreds. This is every horse entity in the state has taken part in getting the data so that SAGE could grind it up and come out with this wonderful report. So we're excited, great place to be. We have one of the best people in the country crunching the numbers in SAGE policy. And now I'm going to introduce you to Anubhav Basu, who is the chairman and CEO of SAGE, and he's going to give the report.
We're delighted to have done this work and want to thank three organizations, the Maryland Horse Breeders Association, the Maryland Horse Council, and the Maryland Horse Industry Board for allowing us to do this study. Our population of horses in this great state is around 80,000. It takes a lot to take care of them. Some of them race, some of them don't race, some of them are thoroughbreds, some of them are standard breds. They're all important. And it takes a lot to take care of these lives. And taking care of these lives creates opportunities for human beings. And that's really what the study was about, the opportunities created by the industry for human beings. I'll talk about the numbers in a moment, but from the perspective of a few years ago, one would not have expected the numbers to turn out the way they did. For many years, the horse industry in Maryland was in sharp decline. This perhaps is traceable to 1990, when the state of West Virginia introduced slots. 4 years later, they introduced a revenue sharing arrangement with their horse tracks, the racing tracks. Just a year later, this happened in Delaware. And all of a sudden, the Maryland horse industry was no longer competing on a level playing field. And then things got really tough a decade later, 2006, when the Pennsylvanians did something similar. And that had almost immediate impacts on the Maryland horse industry from 2007 to 2010. So that would have been a year to 4 years after Pennsylvania introduced its program. The population of Maryland thoroughbred stallions fell by 29 and rose by 20 in Pennsylvania. There's sort of a direct correlation between the renewed growth of their horse industry and the shrinkage of ours. So here we are in 2016. We used 2015 data to estimate the economic impacts. These data came from a variety of sources, but mostly from a survey to industry participants. And these included the operators of farms, but also veterinarians and many, many others who participate, fence builders, many others who participate in the Maryland horse industry. We had a rate of return of around 70% on the survey, which is a massive total. If you think about how unlikely it is for a given survey to be answered, to get 70% response rate is really quite remarkable. And in general, the most significant operators answered their survey. So we feel really good about having those foundational data to drive this analysis. So what did we find? We use an in-plan economic model, software package that embodies multipliers specific to Maryland's economy to calculate total economic impacts. So we found that when you take into account the direct jobs supported by the industry and layer on top of that some of the multiplier effects, the impacts of the industry on purchasing items from other industries, for instance, or utilizing their services, that around 9,000 jobs are supported by the industry, 9,100 jobs are supported by the industry as of 2015. Those jobs are associated with around $482 million in annual worker compensation. That translates to around $53,000 per job. That's around $26 per hour, if you want to put it in those terms. That's a pretty healthy rate of compensation. But the total economic impact is around $1.15 billion. And what makes this remarkable is that several years ago, the economic impact of the industry had fallen well below $1 billion. The industry was shrinking. What's most important, I think, is that the trajectory of the industry has shifted. This is now a rapidly growing industry, and the available data indicate that the last couple of years have seen the most growth. And so if one extrapolates our findings to the year 2020, which is just around the corner, by that time, the industry will support $1.5 billion in economic activity, around $600 million in annual worker compensation, and around 11,000 jobs. So this is an industry that is growing. And again, it's both thoroughbred and standardbred, and the balance of the industry. Some will argue that what Maryland's horse industry needed was to be subsidized. No, it's not really so much about the subsidy. What it really needed was to be on a level playing field. It's on a level playing field now with the Pennsylvanians and the West Virginians and the Delawares, at least a more level playing field, and it is thriving. There's some other aspects to consider as well. One of the things that we know is that the state's economy needs to diversify, that we're a very federal government intensive state, federal government direct employment and federal government contracting. This serves as a mechanism by which to diversify the economy. A second consideration, we know that rural areas of the state have really not thrived economically, that a lot of the prosperity has been in our core metropolitan areas. This provides opportunities for people who live and are connected to rural economies to really prosper. And as a final point, this preserves a lot of open space, millions of acres of open space. We are a state that is associated with very large cities that produce very large suburbs. It is quite easy for developers to pave over this entire state. It wouldn't be that difficult. So we want to preserve open space. Office parks have office buildings. And subdivisions have apartments and homes, and industrial parks have warehouses and other industrial facilities. But horse farms have open land. And so the mere operation of the industry preserves open space in our state, our rural character, our rural heritage, keeps us from having a subdivision in every corner of the state, and I think that that's very positive along multiple dimensions. And so those are the findings of our report. I'm happy to take whatever questions that people have. There should be a copy of the report available to everyone soon, if it's not available today. There is a fact sheet available to everyone today if you're interested in the numbers. But those are my comments this morning. I want to thank Goucher College very much for inviting me here. This is a spectacular campus, and it's another reason to be proud to be a Marylander. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you this morning.
All right. Our next speaker, as you know, horses are part of agriculture. And we have the Secretary of Agriculture here to speak to you today, Joe Bardenfelder.
Well, thanks, Chairman. I want to thank the invitation for being here with everybody today. It's a really important day for Maryland agriculture, but it's a really exciting day for the Maryland horse industry and for Goucher College. And that's really why I'm really pleased to be here. I want to thank Dr. Basu and his team at Sage Policy Group for their work on this survey, because you had an incredible response rate, which I believe really shows how passionate Marylanders are about horses and the industry here in the state. One of the things that I see firsthand with that, if anybody ever gets to visit Maryland State Fair, we just opened a new exhibit a couple of years ago, Horseland. And the number of visitors that come through there and the family with their kids, it really helps to provide that connection between urban, suburban, and rural Maryland. And, because for a while, everybody at some point came from a farm. But through the years, you've been removed 2 or 3 generations, and it helps provide that reconnection with where all of our roots are. But here's some really interesting tidbits that you may not know, because, even though I was in farming all my life here in the state, I really didn't know these facts about horses here in Maryland. And that is that in Maryland, we have more horses per square mile than any other state in the country. How about that? And when you think about that, we have twice as many horses per square mile as Virginia, Texas, California, and Kentucky. We have more horse shows than any other region in the country. Pretty amazing. The industry holds about 587,000 acres of land here in Maryland, which is about 10% of our land. There's about 16,000 places around the state that have horses on them, including stables and farm. More than 700 offer services to the public, such as riding lessons, boarding, and licensed by the Maryland Horse Industry Board. They're a critical element of the maintenance of the state's agricultural heritage. And Maryland's horse industry is an important contributor to our economy. It helps support all of our ag businesses. And we were talking about that a little earlier, about how, the first notion or the first impression that you have about horses, taking care of them, exercising, things like that. As with the horse industry, as other parts of Maryland agriculture, there's all kind of support jobs that are related to that provide the support staff for that to go throughout the whole industry. More than 50,000 tons of horse-specific feed are sold in Maryland each year. And I'm pleased that the horse industry has made the comeback that they have after really some challenging years that we've all faced. Horse farms have preserved our valued open space and serve as a buffer for development to protect the bay. Next to forestry, pastures are the best filtering device to prevent runoff into the bay, and there are more than 200,000 acres dedicated solely to horse pasture here in Maryland. The horse industry provides close to 10,000 full-time jobs, as well as $68 million in tax revenue. Probably throw that tax revenue bit out there. It's always important, if you're from the government, you know how much money you're taking in. I would like to commend Goucher College for their investment, because they're making the horse industry by building new facilities, offering a home to our oldest horse breeding organization, the Maryland Horse Breeders Association, founded in 1936, and educating students about horses and agriculture. And it's important where we're doing that, inside the Beltway, right here in the suburbs of Baltimore.
I'm so excited, and I feel like saying it 3 or 4 times, of being here at Goucher College. And now I'm going to introduce the president of Goucher College to give us some words, but what a great campus, what a great place to be. I hope you all are taking it in and enjoying it. And now, the president, Mr. Jose Bowen.
Good morning. It's my great honor to welcome all of you here to Goucher College. As many of you know, Goucher College has one of the premier equestrian programs, not only in Maryland, but in the country, which means that we compete in the top, we're in the top 10 for 5 years. We also compete with Kentucky, with Stanford, with the other great programs in our nation. Our equestrian program celebrates a great tradition. We're very proud to partner with the Maryland Horse Breeders Association and build upon this renowned legacy. At the end of the year, the Maryland Horse Breeders Association's move to our campus will not only relocate their official offices here, but also allow our students to work with the finest horse industry professionals as part of our newly developed Equine Studies minor. That program has generated great interest on our campus. It's one of our college's most talked about at the moment. Our partnership with MHBA will also anchor the development of a new 18-acre state-of-the-art sustainable equestrian center, which will have more than 30 stalls in the new barn, an outdoor and indoor show ring, as well as meeting and classroom spaces that will provide both theoretical and practical learning environments for Goucher students and the larger community. The new space will also feature a library, memorabilia, and a museum for the Maryland horse industry. Today, Goucher celebrates our long history of equine excellence by looking to the future with our new Goucher Equestrian Center and our strong partnership with MHBA. Goucher is very proud to be part of this thriving and growing Maryland horse industry. And we thank you all of you for joining us here today.